What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today, I want to go over two of the biggest names, I'd say, in Major League Baseball here today. Those guys are, of course, Mike Trout and Trevor Bauer. But hold on, guys. Before we get into the video, I need you guys to go down below, hit the red button, go subscribe. We're on the road to 1K. You know I've been grinding all summer long, so if you want to keep seeing great baseball content from MLB Chatterbox, go hit the red button on the road to 1K, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let's start off with the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. Now, Mike Trout has been out since May 17th with a calf strain injury. He's been out since the 17th. And, you know, his absence in that Angels lineup hurts him. Now, I know the Angels' struggles are on the pitching side of the ball. But regardless, the Angels feel that void. And they cannot fill the void because no one can replace Mike Trout. Some may say, yeah, if he was in the lineup, could they have a shot at the wild card by now? Maybe, maybe not. You see the Mariners are hanging around. The Angels aren't even in the conversation, really. I mean, would he really make a difference if he was playing every day and did not get hurt? Who knows? Because Mike Trout has been in that Angel lineup before. Although he's been spectacular, his presence hasn't really changed the odds or the outcome of any Angels season since, like, what, 2014 when they were in the playoffs and they got their butt kicked by the Royals. So although Trout's a big part of that Angels team, his presence, in my opinion, does not make or break that ball club's chances of getting to the postseason this season. But regardless, I wanted to go over the updates that have been reported on Mike Trout's status when it comes to his calf injury. So here's an article from MLB.com. It says, the Angels superstar center fielder Mike Trout says he's been ramping up his baseball activities in recent days and is nearing a rehab assignment. But there is no exact timetable for when that'll happen. This is what Trout says on the injury and his stint on the IL. He says, quote, "It's real frustrating," Trout said. "One of the hardest things I've been through in my career. I've been through some injuries, but this is tough. I didn't realize how much I use my calf." Well, yeah, you run and you swing, and that's why they say the lower half is very important. So I don't know where he's getting that from, but you should know that, Trout. That's just me. But he says it's frustrating. And obviously, I want to be back soon. But I gotta be smart. I can't go out there and compensate and something else happens. I gotta make sure this thing is fully right before I go back out there. He goes on to say, "I tore it pretty bad, and now it's pretty much healed. It's just about breaking up that scar tissue," he says. "It's frustrating because I feel really good during my workouts, and then just after, it just aches on me. It's a way longer process than what I thought it'd be. I'm going crazy. There's only so much you can do to get it better. And I'm looking for every single way to get out there and whatever I need to do to get this thing back right." So, as you can see, Mike Trout is frustrated, obviously. But guys, let's be real. Let's look at where the Angels are right now today. Well, in their division, they're in 4th place. They're 11 and a half games back. The Mariners are better than they are. They're 62 and 63. They're under 500. And if you go over to the wild card, really their only hope, they're 8 games back of that wild card. And they have the Blue Jays and the Mariners who are in front of them. I know you got, about 2 months to go. But if I'm the Angels and I'm Mike Trout, what's the point? What's the point of coming back? It doesn't sound like he's on the verge of coming back. What will Mike Trout do in the last months of the season that will make a difference for the Angels? I think for the good of Mike Trout's health, the Angels should say, "Look, Mike, you can continue working out. If you want to go rehab down in the minor leagues, go ahead. We're going to look ourselves in the mirror as a team and say, look, we're in 4th place in our division. We're 8 games back of the wild card. And they should say to him, unless we go on a miracle run, don't worry about coming back because it's not worth it." And say to him, you coming back in September isn't going to make a difference for our bottom line. I would just give him the rest of the year off. I mean, just screw it. Screw it. If they were, the Mariners, 3 games back, the wild card right now, yeah, I'd say, you know what, Trout, go rehab. We're going to bring it back no matter what, unless something drastic happens and we fall 8 games back like they are now. I mean, if they were 3 games back, sure. But what's the point of Mike Trout coming back. The Angels aren't in a position to make any push, whether it's the division or the wild card. I do not see them leaping over Toronto or Seattle, let's be honest. So, I don't know. I just want to give an update on Mike Trout. Mike Trout does not need to come back this season. Comment down below your thoughts on a possible return for Mike Trout here in 2021. Alright, so the real news of the day is about Trevor Bauer and his situation and, the possibility of him returning here in 2021, because there's a real possibility now. Bauer has been to court, and some surprising things came out of his court hearing. This happened a couple days ago, back on Thursday, the 19th. This article was published by ESPN. It says a temporary restraining order against Dodger pitcher Trevor Bauer has been dissolved after LA Supreme Court Justice ruled against a woman's request for a permanent restraining order Thursday. Saltman determined that Bauer did not pose a threat to the 27-year-old woman who accused him of sexual assault over the course of 2 sexual encounters, and that her injuries were not the result of anything she verbally objected to before or during the encounters. The judge said, the quote, injuries as shown in the photographs are terrible, but added, quote, if she set limits and he exceeded them, this case would have been clear. But she set limits without considering all the consequences, and the respondent did not exceed limits that the petitioner set. It says, we are grateful to the LA Supreme Court for denying the request for a permanent restraining order and dissolving the temporary restraining order against Mr. Bauer today. Sean Hawley, one of Bauer's attorneys, said in a statement outside the courthouse while standing with Bauer and attorney John Fedoroff. We have expected this outcome since the petition was filed in June, but we appreciate the courts reviewing all the relevant information and testimony to make the decision. So that part's good for Bauer. It's a win because the judge is basically saying that according to the woman's verbal boundaries she set with Bauer when it comes to what she expected during the sexual encounter, I would assume via text messages and maybe over the phone, it sounds like that, what she said and what she allowed Bauer to do to her and not do to her, was clear, and it looks like that she believes, being the judge, that Bauer did not do anything that violated the woman's boundaries she set when she talked to Bauer over the phone and through text messages. So it looks like Bauer's okay on that part, but there's a part of it that I just don't get, which, I'm happy that, Bauer looks like he didn't do anything wrong and he was just doing what the woman, A, wanted and felt comfortable with, according to her. And I'm glad for that. I'm happy about it. But there's a part of it I just don't understand, and I don't see how the judge overlooked this. But I'll get to that in a second. It goes on to say, the article, the Pasadena Police Department has been investigating the allegations against Bauer for more than 3 months and has yet to make any charges or arrest. MLB has been conducting its investigation for about 7 weeks. Bauer's administrative leave, which dates back to July the 2nd, was extended for a 6th time on Thursday afternoon with consent by the MLB Players Association. Bauer's leave will run another 8 days, this time through August 27th, which is this coming Friday. MLB's decision is not dependent on criminal conviction, which is kind of key there, which I don't necessarily agree with, but we'll get to that in a second. There's a lot of things I want to dissect here. But the league is not expected to determine the length of a potential suspension until the legal process plays out. Bauer was called to the witness stand Thursday morning, but his attorney had previously told the judge that he would not answer questions beyond his name and profession as a Major League player, invoking his Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself, which I'm fine with. Hey, I believe in that, sure. You want to plead the Fifth? Plead the Fifth. Go ahead. You have the right to. The woman's attorney pleaded with the judge to allow a cross-examination, citing questions that were permitted to the hearing, but not necessarily incriminating. So basically, his accuser wanted him to say something, and was probably hoping that he'd slip up somewhere in the type of questions she asked or wanted the judge to ask him, and the way she wanted her to maybe word it to Bauer, and maybe she thought he'd slip up and omit something. That's my thought on that, just real quick. But the judge ruled that any questions specific to the hearing could ultimately be incriminating. When she asked Bauer directly whether he would invoke the Fifth Amendment, right, Bauer responded, "Yes, Your Honor." Okay, so the Fifth Amendment, he plead. When a woman says no, she should be believed, Saltman said. So what about when she says yes? So basically, she's saying if the woman says you can't do this, and she tells it to a court, then they should believe her. But then she also is kind of saying, which I'm kind of surprised she ruled this way, was that, if the woman says, she wants this to be done to her, or is okay with this type of foreplay to, I guess you could say, be done on her, if she's okay with it, why not believe her then? That's pretty interesting. I'm quite shocked that the judge kind of ruled that way. You don't see that a lot, in my opinion. Saltman noted that Bauer did not pressure or threaten the woman following the second sexual encounter on May 16th, saying that there was, quote, no factual basis to support her fears of Bauer after she went to the emergency room or after obtaining a protective order. Saltman added that there was, quote, no supportable evidence that he would harm her in the future. So basically, it looks like this judge is on Bauer's side, which I find quite surprising. Because usually when this stuff plays out, it's just like, it's cut and dry. It's, look at what he did. There's no denying it. Look at her injuries. And, basically, the man who's being accused has no shot at winning. Apparently, this is not one of those times. So it looks like Bauer's winning. Big. Which I think is good. I mean, if he's innocent, he's innocent. However, there are some things that I question about the judge's decision when it comes to basically saying that, Bauer never went beyond the woman's boundaries she set. Now, again, in the text messages, she said she wanted it rough. That was the adjective she used. And of course, rough, when referring to sex, can be interpreted in many different ways. The word rough, in my opinion, is so vague when you use it in this type of context when referring to sex. So again, rough is rough. However, people interpret rough is everybody's own interpretation of the word rough when it comes to the word being used referring to sex. However, again, I've said in my original video, rough, like, he gave her 2 black eyes. Now, in my original video, I showed you the pictures of the woman, but her face was blurred out, or at least her eyes were blurred out to hide her identity, and you couldn't really see if she actually had black eyes. Now, I found new pictures of her without it being blurred out, being her eyes, and I'll show it to you right now, and to me, it looks like she got some black eyes. And it looks like those injuries are pretty damn serious. So to me, if these photos were provided during the hearings, how does a judge, overlook that? I just don't know. I mean, what does she think the woman did? Put makeup on? Because I'm looking at the photos with you right now, and I only got one, but it looks like she got some black eyes. I mean, if you look at her left eye is, black and blue, right, by her nose, and kind of the same thing on her right eye, right by her nose as well. Now, again, this image could be edited because it does look a little red all over the place. I can't tell if she edited this to make it look worse because her whole face looks very, very red. Her lips obviously look swollen, but to me it's the eyes, it's the black eyes that just kind of pop out at me and say, whoa, how do you not notice that and believe Trevor Bauer didn't do anything to her when it comes to hitting her or whatever, whether she consented to it or not. I mean, like I said, I think something along the lines in the original report it said, he punched her in the vagina and in the buttocks and in other areas, but I don't think she consented to him punching her in the face. And it looks like whether he punched her, whether he hit her, he gave her a black eye. Now, again, I'm assuming he gave her a black eye because, he's being accused of sexual assault. So I don't think it's wrong for me to assume that Bauer gave her a black eye or hurt her in some way. Of course, she could always fake it. I mean, makeup is wonderful, and makeup, can change a lot of things about a person. It can make them look really, really good and make them look really, really bad. And, it's a possibility that she, edited the picture to make it more red, tinted it red, and maybe she used a little more makeup under her eyes to make it look like she got 2 black eyes. And in the original report, it said he gave her 2 black eyes. And of course, we didn't know if that was true or not because her eyes were blurred out in the original picture. But now that I got this photo that I found on the internet of her, with it unblurred, now we know it looks like she has a black eye. Whether it's a real black eye or a fake black eye, her eyes are swollen underneath. There's no doubt about it. Assuming Bauer did this, how could you say that he was within the boundaries that she set? I don't understand how the judge ruled this way. I'm just shocked. Now again, aside from her eyes, her lips seem to be pretty swollen. That could be makeup too. And her face looks really red. Her skin looks red. But again, this could be edited. You don't know. So, in my opinion, based on the picture that I see right here, and our previous knowledge that it was said in the original report that Bauer did in fact give her black eyes, and now we kind of see that she has black eyes, it's hard for me to believe that the judge ruled in favor of Bauer and said that he never crossed those boundaries she set when it came to how rough he had it with her. I'm just shocked. I mean, if this is true, and she faked it, and she's a con artist, if that's the case, then I support Bauer and support his innocence. Now that also takes us to the next question, and that is, what will MLB do? And it said in the article that, they are continuing to do their own investigation with the MLB and the MLBPA. In my opinion, if he's eventually found innocent, regardless of whether their investigation is over or not, being MLB's, Bauer's innocent on a legal and state level. You have to let him back, and your investigation should be done, because you should believe and trust the courts. That's my opinion. If Bauer turns out to be innocent of all charges, and that the Pasadena police and the county and the state find him innocent, MLB should immediately stop investigations on this case. They should reinstate him, the Dodgers should reinstate him, and they should put him right back in the rotation as soon as possible and put him on the postseason roster, whether he is ready or not, in my opinion. Because if this whole thing turns out to be, I'm going to say it, bullshit, then you owe him at least that, which is a return to the Dodgers this season and a spot on their postseason roster, if they make it. That's all I got for today's video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on Trout and Bauer. And as always, I'll catch you later.